Alright guys, here's the motor. It's kind of a basket case, but it's okay. That's what mechanics call basket cases. It's already taken apart for me, which ain't no big deal. Everything's here. I'll show y'all what the cylinders look like. I think we can work with that. Like I said, this engine is not that old. We're gonna get the clutch off it, get it on the engine stand. I'm gonna show y'all the head. You can see where it was burning oil on all the cylinders. Yeah, nasty. That's what that water does. It wipes the rings right out. I'll show y'all this. If you ever get an engine from the junkyard and it's been remanufactured, and this is a good, if somebody ever brings you a motor to build too, this is a good way to check things. You see these little deals here? Those are for temperature. If it gets too hot, it'll pop. It'll bust this. So if that's still sealed, there's a lot of them too that they put on with hot glue. Like it'll be a metal tag. They'll have the name of the company that built the engine, if it's a reman engine or whatever, and it'll be glued on there with hot glue. And if that slid down or melted off of there, then you know it got hotter than 250, because I think hot glue melts at 250. But these here pop. So if that's on there, you know it hasn't run too hot. So if you're in a junkyard looking at them, always look for these tags and stuff on the engines. My engine came from Jasper. I told y'all that it was cheaper to buy it than build it because my block was ruined. But it's got them hot glued on it. It'll be on the back side of the head on one of the freeze plugs. You know, they put it there where you can't peel it off or anything, but it's on the back side of the head or on the side of the block. You'll see them glued on there. But this head does, other than being oiled up, the valves all look good, which I figured it would because it's only a year old. This thing ain't that old. If you get a bad valve, it'll be sunk down in there. You can look down your tops of your valve springs and you'll see them, one of them sucked in. But there's other ways to test it. I'll show you all that. The valve stem seals still look brand new on it. So we may clean this up. We may not lap the valves in. We'll do some tests on them, see if they hold before we do that, before we say we're not going to do them. But we'll clean them all up. You can see it was oiling bad enough. He had to put foulers in there to keep it from fouling the plugs. But it looks pretty good. I don't see, the head gasket wasn't blown or anything like that. And, but anyway, I'm gonna get the clutch off of it. We'll get it on the engine stand and we'll see what we got. best way to do that. Alright, that's going to be our spot. Get it up where we can look at it. First thing you want to look for when you start messing with one that you're just going to re-ring like this, it'd be a ridge right here. If you got a lot of wear, they actually make ridge reamers. It's where the piston comes up, the rings, and stops and goes back down right there. There'll be a gap, a ridge right there. You'll feel it with your nail if it's got some wear in it. I mean, there's plenty of ways to test for wear, bore gauges, all kind of stuff, but if you're just doing a re-ring job and you just want as good as you can get for the money, you don't feel no ridge right there on any of them, you're probably pretty good. Now, I have built them, I have re-ringed engines before that had a hell of a ridge up here, and you get a ridge reamer and they make a tool for it that cuts that ridge out of there, hone it out, put it back together. And I've did several motors that way. You know, people are more broke than they are. There's more broke people than there are people that's got money to say just do it. You know, it don't matter what it costs, which is how a lot of us are. But you want to check your ridges. No ridge in these, so that's good. Cylinders, I know that looks rusty, but it ain't. It's oil. They are smooth, slick though. And cross hatches. That's why when you get water in one and you take that shine off of the front of the rings and they start leaking, you can't never get it to seal back because there's no ridge, there's no cross hatches usually left. Now, I have took engines apart that had cross hatches in it with 100,000 miles on it, but they don't know Damien, my buddy Damien. I think he could kill an army tank. That's why I like him. He likes to fuck shit up. Alright, well, let me get y'all set up somewhere and we'll flip this thing upside down, make sure there's no oil in it first. Flip it upside down and see what the oil pan looks like. Put y'all up here and pause you for a minute. Kind of getting ahead of myself because it's already taken apart. First thing you want to do is get your lifters out, because if you don't, they're going to fall out when you flip it over. Now, if you're doing a rebuild like this, just a re-ring job, and you're going to reuse your cam and all that stuff, you've got to keep all this stuff in order. It's got to go exactly back where it was, especially the lifters, because they ride on a lobe on that cam and they actually rotate a little bit. Now, we're liable to pull it apart and the cam be messed up and we can't use it, but we want to prep for if it is. So you want to pull number 1 out, number 2, mark them. Mark them or put them where you know that's where they went. Always remember the front of the engine, the rear of the engine. That way it'll help you in your mind keep, you know, everything where it's supposed to go. Same thing with your pistons. See that arrow? Points to the front of the engine. These pistons are 30 over too. That points to the front of the engine. You want to take something, either scratch or mark, you know, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you know your arrow goes to the front. It'll matter on the other end, on the bottom of the rod. The rod has 2 sides. You can put it in the wrong spot. So always make note of where your arrows are pointing forward. Mark everything you take out where you know exactly where it goes back, especially with a re-ring job. A re-ring job is actually harder to get right than building it all new, because if you got all new shit, you can just put your lifters wherever, you know, you cam, you know, all your pistons, all you got to do on then is line your arrows up. It don't matter where everything goes. But when you're doing a re-ring job, that pistons went up and down in that hole a bunch, same as every one of them. So you want to put it back in the same hole. Same thing on the crank, on the rod end, the big end of the rod down at the bottom of the crankshaft. That's the same situation. That bearing's been riding on that journal. This one, this one, this one. You want to put them back there. That way you keep everything wore like it was, and you're just putting new stuff on it, new bearings, new rings, and everything should be good. It's more labor intensive to do it this way, but it'll save you a lot of money. And it does work. It works good in certain situations. Alright, now I'm going to put it down, and we're going to get those lifters out of there. I'll show y'all how to do that too in just a second. Alright. Pick magnet. Just fish them out of there one at a time. They should pull out with a magnet. Sometimes you got to use something like a pick. Got a spot over here. We're going to stack them along this back of my bench in order. So on. I'm gonna get those out of there, and I'll show you what it looks like down in there once we get them out. Good so far. Sometimes you'll get them where they won't come out. No matter what you do, they won't come out, and that usually means that lifter's ruined on the end. It's wiped the lobe on the camshaft, and it makes it wider when it smushes around. Oh, shit. Sorry guys, I had a visitor. I took the oil pan off, and let me take you down off here. I'm going to show y'all what happens when you get water in the engine and you don't get it out. There's all the lifters. There's the front. Oh, that's the way to go back in. We got to clean them up and stuff, but this thing's going to need a lot of help. First of all, look, everything's still on it. Pistons, all that stuff. It should not turn that easy. Okay. See the timing chain? Watch this. I'm going to go in reverse. That's why I quit running, which is a good thing because it was done. Okay, here's your... Let's check the end play on it. See if I can set y'all right here on top of the oil pan. This is the end play. I'm pushing the crank backwards and forwards. I'd have to look at the book, but I say that's supposed to be about 6 or 8 thousandths and not, it looks like about 120. Okay, gets better. All right, let's look at this part. Hear that? That's the rod bearing. Push down, pick up. That ain't good either. There wasn't any mud or anything in the oil pan. It's just all caused by water and being in the oil. Found some sticks and stuff. Old Damien, he likes to play in the mud. That was right there. Wedged in there. Got another one right here. The cylinders look good, but I don't think anything else is going to be good. The cam's still tight. Let's see. I'll have to look at the cam bearings. Let's turn it up. I'll take that rod cap off and look at that bearing. We're not going to go too far because not right yet, maybe tomorrow I gotta mark all this stuff in case we can use it. Let me set you back up here and we'll get one of them caps off. Holy shit. Lord have mercy. Yeah, he's gonna have to get a crank kit for sure. Usually, let's see if I can hold it tight. Usually you can take your finger and feel right here, and if it feels really rough, you need to at least go get one bearing and plastic gauge it before you go any further. One bearing for this, one bearing for that, plastic gauge it, see where it's at, and then you go from there whether you need a crank kit or not. But this one literally has a lip. I don't know if you can see it. Let me get something to wipe it off with. Man, that thing's eat up. Let's see if it'll focus on it. Yeah, it's not going to. It's shiny. Anyway, there's a groove, there's a lip right here. Feel my finger? See it? Run across, hit it. And there's the bearing. It ain't supposed to be that color. Lord have mercy. Fucking piston's just gonna fall out of it. Let me get that piston out of there. There ain't no ring tension whatsoever. The piston's just wanting to fall out. Holy shit. I always said Damien could fuck up an army tank. But it's okay, you know. It's the shit you get into when you play in the mud. Lock to lock. You got bearing locks right there, right there. Let's see what these pistons look like. Sorry guys, I was just getting in. This thing's had mud in it. It's done. Let's see if y'all can see. Hear that? That's da 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 da. That's piston noise right there. Well, it's gonna cost him some money. We'll have to get with him and see what he wants to do, because it's going to be some money to do this. Because you see, you pull one apart, and the oil ring just falls off of it like that. That ain't good. There's been dirt down in this thing, mud. He must have changed the oil pretty good bit of times to try to get it out of there, but Can you see? There's lines right here. That's your lines that kind of like knurl lines is what they call them. They kind of help hold the piston, but you get right here on the side. See how all that's wore slap off of there? Smooth and shiny. Same thing here. Look at the rings just falling off of it. Yeah, this is not good. I was afraid of it, but I was kind of hoping that it wouldn't be this way. This is not gonna be a $300 rebuild. You could feel that ring's razor sharp at the top from it being drug in the mud. Let's flip it over and look at that cylinder. Let me pause. I'm gonna flip it back over and we'll look at that cylinder that's free now. Yeah. Guys, I can't stress it enough. If you get water or mud or anything in your engine, you got to get that shit out of there like right then. As soon as you get home, get it out. This one got water in it, and I don't think Damien knew it was in there for a while, evidently. But even the cylinders are ruined. It looks good up here at the ridge. That's fine. But down in here, if you run your hand down the bore, you can feel a ridge at the bottom down there where the piston skirts were rubbing. And this thing's already 30 over, which means I wouldn't bore it no bigger than that because it's going to run hot like crazy. Now, Damien, if you're watching this, dude, you need to call me because I'll come over and take a look at it and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But when you got a ridge at the bottom of the cylinder and not the top, it was getting pure mud and sand in it. His snorkel ran from the carb down on the other side of the engine, and the breather was down low on a what's that thing he's got? A YJ. I don't know the Wranglers that well, but the filter's down here, and it was getting mud in it, and it's sucking it up into the engine, and that's what happened to this thing. There had to be mud in that at one time, but it's grounded to nothing. There ain't no use to do nothing else to this thing. I hate it for him, because if it's the bores are ruined like that, you got to get it bored out, and they'll have to go 60 thousandths. It's 30 now, so they'll have to go 60 thousandths. When you got a radius like this, a circle, you bore at 60 thousandths, you're only taking 15 thousandths off of that side. That's how a radius is figured. 60 thousandths will be 15 from this side, 15 from that side to make the radius. So if you fill down in here, to me, that'd be cutting it close, if that would even clean it up. But I wouldn't try to run a 4.0 at 60 thousandths. I mean, I know they got the stroker kits with a 4-inch bore, but they mill this out and they put a 4-inch bore sleeve in there, so the cylinder wall's still thick. You know, these cylinder walls are thick, but you go boring at 60 over, it's going to want to run hot on you. And then you got to worry, and that's another thing with them stroker motors with the 4-inch bore, the smaller that area gets right there, the more apt it is to blow a head gasket. So, I don't know what I'm going to tell him to do. I think I'm going to tell him to go to the junkyard and get a motor. And with the time, when I seen the timing chain, I was pretty sure that it was probably screwed. You couldn't get it sleeved because it's more money to sleeve this block than you could buy a brand new one. So, like I've said in many of my videos, guys, you get mud and water down in one of these things, you got to get that shit out of there. And after you do, you got to figure out where it came from and how it got it in there and correct it. Because if you don't, this is what you'll be dealing with. I have never seen one quite this bad, to be honest with you. That's copper. That's the backer of the bearing. There's no Babbitt left. I mean, that son of a bitch is shot. And that's how you tell your bore. It'll say on the piston right there,
.0030. Let me turn it where you can see it. Yep, see? 30.75. And that ring ain't supposed to be that narrow. Look at that freaking thing, man. I ain't laughing at you, Damien. I'm laughing with you, buddy. It's pretty bad, though. Alright, guys, I think my honey's... You out there, honey? You hiding? Damien totally frigged his motor up.
Well, what did you expect?
I expected it. I always hope for the best for everybody. But this is not good. Anyway, Damien, I think the cam might be good, but that's questionable too. I don't think there's anything good on it. I'm sorry, bud. Give me a call if you watch this. If not, I'll holler at you tomorrow. Alright, guys. Take it easy. Alright, bye. Well, if you stuck around, let's look at the oil pump. I know sometimes you hardcore guys just wait a little bit. I'm going to take the oil pump cup. We're going to look down in the oil pump. That'll tell the story. Hold on. Take a hammer to the oil pump. We can't hurt it. Oh my God.
Is it gritty?
There's mud in it. Look. It's mud.
Well,
When you're a mechanic, you learn how to be an investigator. Because you'll get customers say, I didn't get nothing in there. I don't know what's wrong with it. Especially when you do race motors and you put nitrous on them. I only sprayed a 75 shot on it. And then the rod's twisted in there sideways and the piston won't even come all up. You gotta learn to investigate. You see that? That's oil pressure. That should not be like that.
oh wow.
That's your oil pump. Yeah. Yeah. Man, I wish I could fix it for him, but I can. He's just gonna have to get another block in the engine. He's gonna have to get something else. This is not gonna work. This is gonna cost more money than he wants to spend on it. It's got to be bored, and it can't be bored because it's already 30 over. If it goes any bigger with it, it's gonna want to run hot on him. The crank's trash. And there's a groove right there going down. That's supposed to be 3 thousandths of clearance between the rod bearing and that journal, and it was like 30 thousandths. Lord, he's gonna be so pissed off. Oh, I'm sorry. Nothing we can do. Lord, I think it might have came. It come in through the top. That's why the pistons are mucked. It sucked it in through the carburetor. It sucked damn muddy water in through the carburetor. That's why it was smoking so bad. The rings fell off the pistons when I took them out. I know that don't mean nothing to you, but they ain't supposed to fucking do that. You're supposed to have to squeeze them on there, work them on there because they're tight. You got to be careful not to break them when you're putting them on. But they just fell off. This guy that owns this Jeep, he created Jeep Freaks of Florida, and he don't give two shits, buddy. Trying to get him his YJ back up and going. I don't know, man. I think I'm gonna send him to the junkyard to be his cheapest way to go. I mean, it's possible you might be able to get the bores to work. They're not, I don't know. I've never seen one with a ridge at the bottom down here. Usually it's at the top because there was dirt all around this and it ground it down in here where it was rocking. It stays pretty straight at the top. When it comes down, it rocks when that crank goes around and it just ground it right up. I've seen pistons that bad though and reused them. I mean, but I haven't seen a bore at the bottom. This shape is in the bottom of the cylinder. You can't see it, but that shape right there is in the bottom of the cylinder, and there's a groove about thick as your fingernail in the bottom of it. So it ain't got, the clearance has got to be all off on the bore. Anyway, I guess I'm done now. Sorry it wasn't better than that, but we're going to come up with something for him, so we'll be part of that too. Y'all take it easy. Bye.